Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the September 6th Zoning Committee work session. My name is Douglas Walton. I am the chairman of the Zoning Committee. This meeting is being streamed online via YouTube in accordance with all the applicable meeting statutes for the state. Requirements of notice, access, and minutes are being met by electronic means. Welcome to our party. A few items of business here before we get started. For those of you who are around the dais here with me, please keep your mics muted unless you are speaking. And if you need to make a motion or second a motion, please state your name before you do that. The public hearing for the zoning petitions that we're going to hear tonight have been held at a previous date in front of Charlotte City Council and the Zoning Committee. This meeting is not a continuation of those hearings, so there will be no public input unless the committee has a specific question, in which case the committee will suspend the session and ask the petitioner directly for their comments. And we will begin tonight with introductions, and I will begin by introducing commissioners to my far left with Commissioner Neely.
Good morning, Commissioner Neely, Planning Commission.
Commissioner Seeley, Planning Commission.
Commissioner Wilden, Planning Commission.
And good morning, Commissioner Lansdale.
It's always morning somewhere on the world. And we will now introduce the folks that are here from the planning staff that are helping us get through this party tonight. And we will start with Mr. Kinley.
John Kinley, planning staff.
Mike Russell, planning staff.
Jay Carpenter, CDOT.
Solomon Fortune, City of Charlotte zoning administrator.
Joe Mangum, planning staff.
Holly Kramer, planning staff. Raquel Dominguez, planning staff. Canajas, planning staff.
And do we have anybody who's online that we can get introduced? I usually have a bunch of CDOT folks out there and others. So if you would introduce yourselves. And unmute yourself if you're muted.
Natalie's trying to talk right now, but Natalie King is here from CDOT. I'm Travis Miller from CDOT. And Drew Ritter here from CDOT as well.
Evening, everybody. Dave Fenton, Planning Department.
Okay. Hopefully we'll get Natalie all squared away. And Drew, I think you were a little bit low on the volume party, so make appropriate adjustments and we'll let you know if we can hear you a little bit better. You were kind of weak there. All right. Now is there anybody else that we missed online getting introduced? All right, if not, we will begin by hearing if there are any deferrals or withdrawals, and I believe Ms. Kramer is our hostess for that part of the event this evening.
Yes, thank you. So we have a couple of deferrals on the agenda. First one, 2021-209 by Coastal Acquisition Entity LLC, requesting to defer to the October 3rd, 2023 Zoning Committee meeting. 2022-071 by MTB Holdings, requesting to go to the December Zoning Committee meeting. 2022-099 by Levine Properties, requesting to go to October Zoning Committee meeting. And 2022-109 by Urban Trends Real Estate, requesting to go to the October Zoning Committee meeting.
Thank you, Holly. Can I get a motion for the disposition of these deferral items?
Lansdale, motion to defer.
Second, Seeley.
It's been properly motioned by Lansdale, seconded by Seeley. All those in favor of these deferrals, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those items have been deferred. And we'll begin our program this evening with item number 5, rezoning petition number 2020-027 by the City of Charlotte and Crosland Southeast. It's an innovative request. And this is one of those where Solomon comes to visit us. And when Solomon comes, it's always more fun than we could possibly imagine. So Solomon, please give us the details.
Hi, Planning Commission staff. This petition is 2020-27 with an innovative request. This falls under the MX provision that in the ordinance, in the previous ordinance, that You guys have, anytime that a developer wants to make a change to the innovative provisions that were approved, that has to come back through planning commission. Typically, this is a simple vote of yes or no, yay or nay. In this here, as part of this petition here, they are requesting, I think the last time you guys had an innovative request was back in May of this year, so they come around very frequently. This one here is they have submitted a request. This is for the residential portion of the site at Eastland Mall, the former Eastland Mall site. They are asking to go from a townhome building separation of 16 feet to 10 feet. They are asking to reduce down to a single-family minimum lot area of 2,700 square feet. And then they are asking for a minimum lot width of 27 feet. And then they are asking for some of the rear yards to be reduced from 5 feet at the corner, from 30 feet to 5 feet. And then they are asking for a minimum side yard of 4 feet. The biggest concern for us, as you can hear, was the detached going down from the side yard reduction, but fire has been in support of that. And then the build to setback zone was 6 feet, no greater than 25 feet for some of the internal streets that are proposed for the innovative request. And if we can go to the next page here, staff does recommend approval of this innovative request, and there are no outstanding issues.
Thank you, Solomon. Does anybody have any questions, issues, concerns? Don't hear any. Solomon, does this affect the number of units? That was the only question I had. I was assuming this is just.
Yeah, no, these are they're still the same number of units that were approved. Doesn't affect. It's just going to be, it's how they lay out and how because they're currently in for a land development review, and they they wanted to make some changes, and they go through this process before.
All right. Thank you very much. And this one is different. We don't do the normal script that we do. So this is just a yes or no vote. Do we accept this petition or this request? And so I will put that to a vote at this moment. And all those in favor of accepting this request, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. This request is accepted, and that vote is 6-0. Solomon, we look forward to seeing you again sometime. Don't be a stranger, man. After a good start, hopefully the rest of the evening is going to go just as smoothly, people. Item number 6 on our agenda this evening is rezoning petition number 2022-049 by Turnstone Group LLC. And Joe will be giving us information on that particular petition. So go ahead, Joe.
Thanks. This is approximately 9.84 acres located on the south side of Old Dowd Road at the intersection with Sam Wilson Road. The current zoning is NS. Proposed zoning is I2CD. 2040 policy map recommends commercial place type for the site, reflecting that NS zoning. And the proposal would allow for 92,000 square feet of indoor self-storage as well as warehousing, warehouse distribution, and office uses. That would be in that purple rectangle on the screen. It allow for accessory uses permitted in the I-1 district. Allows for outdoor storage of boats and recreational vehicles. Would prohibit the following uses: adult establishment, automobile service stations, automotive repair garages, car washes, dry cleaning, and laundry establishments, petroleum storage facilities, cemeteries, landfills, quarries, raceway, and drag strips, and heavy manufacturing. Provides a minimum 54.5-foot Class A buffer that's in the green along the western property boundary. Provides landscape screening between the proposed outdoor storage area and Old Dowd Road, and commits to the following transportation improvements: 150-foot westbound Old Dowd Road left turn lane, restriping of southbound Sam Wilson Road to a combination through left turn lane, installation of a traffic signal at the site entrance there at Sam Wilson Road, and an 8-foot planting strip and 6-foot sidewalk along the site's Old Dowd Road frontage. Since the public hearing, the petitioner has addressed several outstanding issues related to transportation and site and building design. There are no outstanding issues. While the petition is Inconsistent with the commercial place type recommendation, the petition would prohibit many of the most noxious I2 uses. The I2 request is specifically to allow that outdoor storage of boats and recreational vehicles. The site is also adjacent to manufacturing and logistics place type to the north and east. And the traffic signal proposed at the site entrance would be a benefit to the larger community. Staff does recommend approval, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Does anybody have any questions, issues, comments? I have Commissioner Lansdale.
The thing that jumped out for me was the berm change. Can you talk about the rationale from the berm change to a landscape screening? Is that right? No, sorry, it provides a minimum 54-foot Class A buffer, reduced from a 73-foot berm, 73 with a berm. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So that is an ordinance provision that provides for a 25% reduction of the buffer if you have a berm within that buffer.
Say that again, because the berm was 73 feet with a berm.
So it would be by ordinance, it would be a 73-foot buffer. I think I might be worded incorrectly there. With a berm, you can reduce that 73 feet to 54.5 feet by including a berm in the buffer area.
A comma would have been very useful.
I was just trying to get that in my notes. So I was just trying to understand that. So yeah, so just a comma was missing there.
To me, yeah.
Okay.
That to you, Terry?
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions, issues, comments? I had only one question, and Jake, maybe this may go back to you. Were there any necessities for that entrance or exit? We're told this is boat storage, and boats are bigger than my Miata, so they probably need a bigger exit place. Were there modifications on this made so that to accommodate the larger traffic in and out?
So in a rezoning plan like this, we don't necessarily show the full design of the driveway because they'll have to provide turning movements to show that their design vehicle for the site works. So we would handle the specifics of the width of the driveway and then the radiuses needed to accommodate those vehicles during permitting.
Okay, thank you very much. And one more. Joe, this is going to an I2 and we're in the post-UDO world. Is this an I2 because of the date which it was filed? I'm assuming. Okay.
That's correct. We had to set a deadline at some point. I believe it was March 1st. Was that right?
Yeah. And we're just,
Conditional,
okay.
right.
All right. I thought that was the case. It was just, once I read it out loud, it was like, wait, and then now I'm all good. Anybody else have any questions despite my confusedness? Do I have a motion for the disposition of petition or of item number 6 on our agenda tonight?
Motion to approve Sealy.
Read script.
All right. I forgot we did that. Yeah. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-049 and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Do I have a second?
Second, Wilden.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Seeley and seconded by Commissioner Wilden. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 6-0. On to item number 7 on our agenda, rezoning petition number 2022-060 by the Providence Capital Group. And this one will be Holly Kramer.
Thank you. This petition has come in before to zoning committee. It's been quite a number of months. And many of you, I guess, probably weren't here for it, but you might have seen it on the decision agenda last month and it was recommended to go back to zoning committee because of the change that came in after the initial zoning committee vote. So Just to recap, this site is approximately 5.90 acres located on the west side of South Boulevard, east side of Old Pineville Road, and north of East Woodlawn Road. It's in an area that we see shifting to TOD uses. There are some, as you can see in this graphic here, the pink are the transit-oriented zoning districts already applied in the area, and many of those sites are transitioning away from industrial uses to the more transit-supportive type projects. And it is proposing to shift the zoning from currently ML1 Manufacturing Logistics 1 to TOD-CC and TOD-TR. And that's been the change since zoning committee, is that a middle portion of the site will be for TOD-TR zoning. The policy map recommends community activity centers, so the proposal for both TOD-CC and TOD-TR is consistent with that. It is a conventional request, so there's no associated site plan, but on this graphic here, you can see which portion of the site is recommended for TOD-CC, which is the portion that is directly along the blue line. And TOD-CC is slightly denser development than TOD-TR would allow, so it does orient that denser transit-oriented development along the blue line directly, and then TOD-TR is what they're requesting for that middle portion, as you can see on the map, and that portion is directly against the existing furniture store that's just to the east of this rezoning boundary. Staff does recommend approval of this petition. We wanted it to come back before zoning committee just because adding a zoning district is substantial enough to warrant your review again, but it is compatible with the policy map recommendation and generally the application of TOD-CC and TOD-TR here is something we'd like to see as opposed to the existing ML1 development as we see this area shift away from industrial type zoning districts and uses. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Holly. Does anyone have any questions, issues, concerns?
Yeah, I've got one.
Commissioner Russell.
So Holly, talk to me about, do we understand what the rationale was to switch to a TR to that middle portion? Is that due to just the way what they want to develop, or was there something more substantial behind that?
So we don't have specifics in terms of what they want to develop. I mean, it is again a conventional petition, so they want to specify that at this time anyway. So I don't want to hypothesize on that. The petitioner's agent is in the room if you want to ask them, but in terms of uses, we don't have specifics on that at this time.
I would motion to suspend.
I have a motion to suspend on the floor. Does anybody want to second that?
Second, Seeley.
Or the motion to suspend is on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed? None. Now, before we ask the petitioner, we need to formulate the exact question that you would like to ask.
Got it. Okay. I think I'm gonna keep this simple. Why do you want to go to TOD-TR in the middle of the site? Why not just keep the density across the entire site?
And we'll recognize Mr. McVeigh, who's the petitioner's agent for this particular.
Keith McVeigh with Moore Van Allen representing Providence Group Capital. The reason for the change in the middle is a little bit more flexibility on allowed uses between TOD-TR and TOD-CC. Also, it's impacted somewhat by the use to the north, which is a drum manufacturing plant, and that's the more active part of that site, of that manufacturing site. So trying to make that transition with the uses and the zoning districts.
That answers my question.
All right.
Thank you.
We're good. We will resume our session now. And are there any other questions, issues, concerns? Commissioner Lansdale.
And this might be for Jake or DOT. That little sliver, or Holly, whoever, that little sliver next to Old Pineville, is that right-of-way protection? I mean, I know that's the street there. I mean, I'm trying to understand how we're going to protect that road that connects to Sterling, but it goes through the parking lot at the battery store and all that. I mean, it's a pretty scary place to be if you're not protected by 4,000 pounds of steel, but it's getting across those tracks and finding a way in. That is a path of least resistance for many people, especially getting across the light rail line at that point from Old Pineville to the shopping center across from Woodlawn. So I just want to make sure I understand the protection of that and making sure that we're protecting the right of way associated with that. I don't know, is it an unnamed street at that point? Yeah.
Not aware of the specifics, but it appears based on our Charlotte Explorer that it's a private street or a private drive across the property.
Um,
And a follow-up, if I may.
go for it.
So there's no plans to change that from a private drive?
Not that I'm aware.
And where the petition is asking to change this to a TODCC with access on a private drive across light rail?
So as far as from a transportation perspective, and a conventional petition, we don't have a site plan. We're not aware if there's connections to that private drive. And so we can't provide a review of the development.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I've established mine.
Okay, Commissioner Lansdale, I will say that I did express some concerns about that with the petitioner. The petitioner's agent is in the room. If my recalling of the conversation is correct, there's ongoing negotiations about that and who owns that and the rights of way. If you would like to have more information, we can again suspend and get the petitioner to provide information.
I'm not interested in suspending at this point if someone else would like to.
All right. Everybody else good? Any questions, issues, comments? If not, I hear a motion on the disposition of this particular petition, item number 7 on our agenda.
All right. Commissioner Russell, I motion to approve petition 2022-060. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition 2022-060 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Second, Seeley.
Been motioned by Commissioner Russell and seconded by Commissioner Seeley. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
The 2 opposed?
This is sound on.
So we got 5-2. That petition passes, right? All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm looking down, so I wasn't catching everybody on that one.
If I may.
And yes, you have opposition's commentary. Yes, please.
Yes, and I'm not supporting this petition change at this point in time due to the outstanding issues for transportation and the lack of compliance to 10-minute neighborhoods, safe and equitable mobility, and the outstanding unresolved issues associated with the private drive and access to this parcel. Thank you.
Ditto.
Commissioner Wilden says ditto. Is that enough for you guys, Holly? Thank you. All right, now we can go on to item number 8 on our agenda, rezoning petition number 2022-146 by KTED LLC. And who's going to be Claire tonight? Dave, are you going to be Claire?
Yeah, I'll still take these things.
Okay. Wow. Claire from Beyond. Thank you, Dave.
All right, so 2022-146, it's just under about 4 acres in the area of Albemarle Road and Circumferential Road, west of Harrisburg and south of Pence. It's currently zoned IC1, as well as a small portion is R12 from a previous rezoning. Proposed zoning is for R12 MFCD and just a small site plan amendment to that pre-existing R12. Just to the west there. Policy map does recommend community activity center. And again, that small little notch is neighborhood 1. Policy map was, I think, or the rezoning came into play before the policy map. That's why you don't see that rezoning just to the west of this. That's R12 reflected, but it is more of a neighborhood 2 where that rezoning occurred just to the west of this property. The proposal for this petition is for 47 single-family residential attached townhomes. All residential units will have pedestrian connection to sidewalk. Internal drives would connect to Dunsinane Drive Extension. 26-foot Class C buffer would be provided. That could be reduced by 25% with a wall or a fence. And then also we'd have a 30-foot and 35-foot post-construction buffer with water quality easement as well as open space. This project will kind of be integrated with that R12 project that was approved just to the west of this, where that road connection, that public road will tie in. So essentially they're interconnected projects between the two. This one's just coming in behind it as a later, essentially a later phase. No significant changes since the public hearing. Just they did address the outstanding urban design comment that shows up in the post-hearing staff analysis. We do have some items with urban forestry and stormwater to work through. The petitioner is aware, and we're working with all parties to get those resolved and should have all that cleaned up before decision, but it shouldn't change any of the outcome of the site design or the petition itself. Staff is recommending approval. We will resolve those outstanding issues. Now they're just environment. The site and building design items, like I said, have been addressed. It is generally consistent with that recommendation for community activity center place type. And it's inconsistent with the neighborhood 1 place type on the map. But again, that would be updated essentially to neighborhood 2, just given the entitlements on that piece next door. So overall, just kind of a continuation of what was already approved. So with that, we will take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Dave. Does anyone have any questions or issues, comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion on the disposition of item number 8 on our agenda?
Neely, motion to approve.
Winiker, second.
Do the script.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of the petition number 2022-0146 as it appears before us,
And adoption of the consistency statement.
and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Thank you. It's been properly moved by Commissioner Neely and seconded by Commissioner Winiker. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? That one passes 7-0. We're up to item number 9 on our agenda tonight, rezoning petition number 2022-157 by Leon and Jennifer Chisholm. And Michael, this one is you.
Thanks. This is approximately 4.2 acres located on the north side of Galloway Road, east of Mallard Creek Road and west of Garrison Road. Let's see the aerial there. Its current zoning is N1A neighborhood 1. The proposed zoning is the UR2 CD, urban residential conditional. The 2040 policy map recommends neighborhood 1 for this site. Part of this proposal, it allows up to 28 single-family attached townhome style dwelling units. They do provide an 8-foot wide planting strip and 8-foot wide sidewalk along the site's frontage on Galloway Road. They are providing a 15-foot Class C buffer with fence in the eastern and western sides of the property. They are committing to a minimum of 10,500 square feet of usable common open space areas with amenities. They do commit to not having a dog park allowed in the open space or as an amenity on the site. They are providing guest parking spaces, and they do provide architectural standards, including building materials. There have been no changes since the public hearing. I believe you all have seen this one before.
Yep.
The petition is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for neighborhood 1 place type. I sort of feel that the position is an appropriate infill development between the two established single-family neighborhoods, and that they are mostly three-unit buildings and then 2 4-unit buildings as well. So staff does recommend approval of this position. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions? Commissioner Russell.
A question about connectivity, looking on the right-hand side of the top private alley. It says possible street stub connection, but it looks like it's just squared off to me. So are we saying that we want that connection to be created at some point if the parcel next to it becomes developed? That's for staff.
This is Travis with CDOT. Yes, those stubs are in coordination with subdivision and possibly being able to provide some interconnectivity without having cars and vehicles come back to the main road there.
And is that the same for the lower private alley? So you've got kind of almost I don't know, kind of Tetris shaped thing that you'd have to do.
Those potential street stubs, yep, that would be another potential location, but all stubs and connectivity would go through subdivision, and there's some requirements that they would go through during permitting to finalize those.
Okay. Thank you.
Any others? Commissioner Lansell?
Quick question on design for the pedestrian bridge and the path. I mean, is there any guarantee about this project including that, or is it just as a suggestion at this point? Yeah. I didn't see anything in transportation or connectivity for pedestrians.
Toward the back of the, yeah, I mean, they've committed to doing that because it's part of the amenity area back there.
Thank you, Mark.
Do you have any other questions, comments? If not, I open for petition on the disposition of item number 9 on our agenda.
Commissioner Neely, motion to approve.
Winiker, second.
Yep, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend the approval of petition number 2022-157 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement.
As it appears before us. Motion's been made by Commissioner Neely and seconded by Commissioner Winiker. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You? Nope.
Nope.
We're all good. That's a 7-0. Thank you very much, everybody. We're on to item number 10 on our agenda, rezoning petition number 2022-183 by Blue South LLC. And John Kinley, please take us through this.
This is approximately 32.42 acres on the north side of Interstate 45 and West China Grove Church Road, east and south of East Westinghouse Boulevard. You all saw this petition, I guess it was at the last meeting, and the petitioner asked that it go back to zoning committee for another review due to some changes that they made to the site plan, which I will cover in a bit. Next slide. Currently vacant. To the north, there's some additional phases of development that the developer has been undertaking that are under construction. Some portions of that are already completed as well. This would be changing the zoning from I1 CD light industrial conditional to UR2 CD urban residential conditional. The policy map currently just recognizes the existing conditional zoning on the ground, recommending manufacturing and logistics place type. That you'll see surrounding this site is neighborhood 1 residential and campus place types in the area. It would allow up to 186 dwelling units, maximum of 58 units, and a maximum of 128 single-family attached townhomes, 4 units per building maximum, limiting the building height to 40 feet. Specifies that each unit would have a garage. Provides architectural standards. Townhome buildings will be accessed via alleyways or private streets. Provides a 50-foot wide landscape area along the east and southeast property lines against the single-family detached homes. Provides a 60-foot access easement to Mecklenburg County Greenway and a central amenity area, which I'll talk more about in a second as well. Since the public hearing, the petitioner did make some changes to their site plan. And some of these I think were made right before you all saw it at the last meeting. And I think I mentioned these changes at the last meeting, but they weren't submitted yet in the site plan that you guys could see in front of you. So This plan includes those changes that I mentioned before, committing to dedicating additional land on the western edge of the site around the greenway easement to Mecklenburg County for future greenway and park use, and that's this large green area at the end of the cul-de-sac. It specifies the central amenity area will include a minimum of 4,000 square feet of sports courts and 1,200 square feet of covered pavilion or equivalent. Commits to provide transportation mitigations in accordance to Table 3.3 of the multimodal assessment mitigation options from CDOT, and notes that a minimum commitment of 6 points of priority will be given to providing a 6-foot wide sidewalk throughout the development phase and improving ADA accessibility and connectivity between the project and pedestrian connector at the light rail station. So with those commitments, basically what it'll mean is that folks will be able to walk from this site via sidewalk along Urban Lane to the elementary school where there's a connector down to the light rail station. And if we go back, Emma, maybe I think 2 slides. Maybe one more to the, keep going, sorry. There we go. So there's a connector on the south side of the school that takes you down to the light rail station parking deck, and you can get over to the level where the train picks up. But there's sidewalk already existing on Irvin, and there's sidewalk on China Grove Church Road. So once this development comes in, you'll be able to walk from all this other development they've already constructed and this site and have a continuous pedestrian connection all the way to the light rail station. The petitioner also, I think, is hoping to, once they have enough, and this isn't a commitment in the rezoning plan, but they are hoping to maybe provide some sort of a shuttle service or something like that to the light rail station once they get enough rooftops and people living in the neighborhood. Obviously, that's something that would be yet to be seen and can't be guaranteed, but that is something that they've talked to some of their existing residents about providing and the folks in the neighborhood. Go back to the changes slide. Okay, I think we can go on to the next one. Staff recommends approval of the petition. There's no outstanding issues. It is inconsistent with 2040 policy map recommendation for manufacturing and logistics. Again, that's because the policy map recognized that existing conditional zoning. However, staff does feel that the proposal is more compatible with the surrounding residential development that's both ongoing and existing than a manufacturing site would be. So staff's recommended approval. It would change the policy map from manufacturing logistics to neighborhood 2. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, John. Just a little bit of discussion between us up here. Does anyone have any questions directly that they'd like to ask John? We've got Commissioner Russell.
Yes, this question is for CDOT. So looking at the end of Road 5, we got that cul-de-sac with the Mecklenburg County Park dedication at the corner. But if you look at the parcel just a little bit to the northwest, there's a road that looks like it runs out and stops just short of the property line. Why wasn't that road connected to the cul-de-sac? Why did it stop?
Emma, could you go back to the site plan, please? Thank you.
Forward one, I think.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, you got that road that runs just, that one. Why doesn't it connect to?
I think it actually ends, it's variegated right there. And it starts at 485.
Yeah, so I believe the right of way, it's an NCDOT, it's actually an old NCDOT route, and I believe the right of way stops short of the property line and or the road, the public road that's maintained. So there was no connection required as part of subdivision or other ordinance, and there wasn't a method to get that connection made to that road.
But I'm thinking that shouldn't we leave ourselves open the option to do that in the future? Because all we're doing is shunting traffic on the South Boulevard and not taking advantage of the other major road that one connects to, which I believe is Tryon.
Nations Ford.
No, that's Nations
Ford.
Is that Old Nations Ford? I think it's Old Nations Ford.
Old Nations Ford and
yeah, and Westinghouse, yeah. I mean, even at some point, if that parcel to the north develops further out, it just seems like if we leave it as a cul-de-sac instead of a stub, we miss that opportunity to provide a future connection, and we've kind of locked everybody into that corner of 45.
Locked them in type C.
So during the pre-submittal and during the early stages of this rezoning petition, we did ask the petitioner to explore the opportunities to connect to, I believe it was that's Old Nations Ford Road. And they even went as far as having an engineer do I forget exactly what it's called, but where you have the different grades, basically. Yeah, profile of what the street would look like. And basically it was determined that because of the two creek crossings that are there, there's actually two creeks that are on that northwest parcel. Mecklenburg County owns that parcel. There's two creek crossings, and having to, where those cross over the creek and then having to ramp back up to where that's, where this site is, because the site is well above the area where that ends. They wouldn't be able to meet the grade requirements for a street connection. And also the county, like I said, the county does own that northwest parcel and plans to develop for park uses, and they wanted to maintain a greenway connection.
Okay. Commissioner Winokur, question?
Please. Along those lines, given the county's plans with making that a greenway connection, why doesn't the subdivision have plans to connect it to that potential future greenway spot?
It does. It does, doesn't it?
So there is a easement for a greenway easement to connect right here at the end of the cul-de-sac. And then, like I said, the petitioner has also agreed to dedicate this additional land to the Mecklenburg County. So there'll be opportunities for connections as far as vehicular connections. I don't think I don't know if the Mecklenburg County has a specific development plan for this parcel, but there are some areas that are more developable up on Westinghouse Boulevard, which would have vehicular access off of Westinghouse for the county to provide access to folks to get to the park space.
Sean, if I can ask a question there about the Kings Branch Greenway, is there a notion of time frame for that? Is that planned, or is it in any shape, form, or fashion going to be realized within a short period of time?
I don't know what the timeline is for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I would guess that it's probably still in planning phase.
Okay, yeah. I know when you go out Westinghouse and you cross Old Nations Ford is not a noticeable intersection. You just kind of zip right past it. It's not traffic controlled. There's no light there or anything of that nature. And, bringing traffic from this project out there, I don't know. It might have an effect, but again, the out for this is Westinghouse Boulevard, and I'm assuming that all of this traffic cumulatively probably, and Jake, is there a traffic light up there out of this? Because there's not one on Sterling.
There's a traffic signal at, I believe it's China Grove.
China Grove? Okay. Yeah, okay, China Grove.
And this petition does connect to Blue Central Road, which it goes up into the existing phases of development, and then has another connection out to Westinghouse as well, further west of China Grove Church Road. And then I'll just note that the intersection at Old Nations Ford Road, actually to the north of Westinghouse, turns into the driveway into the Vulcan Materials mine. So it doesn't really connect through further north than that.
But it's great if you want to go by mine. Anybody else got any? Commissioner Lansdale?
I think this is for Jake. I'm struggling with this. Printed out the design manual, trying to figure out these details associated with local residential medium roadway design. And correct me if I'm wrong, what I see on these specs is a 21 foot total right of way with a 20 foot edge of curb right of way. And I'm really struggling to figure out how we get a medium public road with 10-foot lanes at a critical place that connects to Irwin Elementary. I applaud the petitioner in this parcel for including these alleyways as opportunities to have choices. But I'm struggling and continue to struggle with these design features that seem to be inconsistent in some of these petitions that we see around lane width and the continued compression of roadways and access for all types of users.
So the local residential medium has a 10.5-foot pavement section and a 2.5-foot curb and gutter. And, you know, our local street standards are designed for low volume and, you know, low load design. So you know, city policy is for bicycle users to share the road on low volume local streets. And so that's how our policy is designed. We have arterials, you know, outside of this development to connect to provide multi-use paths and such. But you know, a 10.5-foot lane width and so a 21-foot pavement section is going to be standard for all of our local streets to accommodate all users.
Just to confirm, it's not clear on this design piece. Just to confirm with a follow-up, if I may. You know, I'm looking at Blue Central Road and I'm seeing, you know, 21 feet. But on the Prado Road section, the petitioner has put 23 feet back of curb, like on Road 3, with 20 feet edge of pavement. That's clear. It's going to be a 10-foot lane in each direction. But the clarification for the 21 feet with the total right of way to include 6-foot sidewalks with buffers. I'm just trying to, I struggle with doing the math easily about that. So Jake, there wasn't really a question in there, but I just need more clarification. When we have some public roadway design features indicate edge of pavement and back of curb, when some don't. So I'm looking for consistency across all public roads. So I'm going to have some hesitation about this.
And I'll just add that the plan view notations on some of these plans can be a little hard to read, but they do generally include our CLDSM cross sections, which help to kind of do that math and see those numbers. I think they do have the local residential medium included on the plan, and that may help versus looking at the plan view of what we're looking at for the cross section.
Yeah, I was just looking for one of these things looks like the other. So thanks.
Do we have any other comments from commissioners? If not, I will make my comment. And as previously, I was supportive of this petition because of its location immediately adjacent to the light rail. Having ridden out there, walked around a little bit, and seeing that the neighborhood is generally walkable in a way that it may not be as perfectly designed as we want from an urban design perspective, but it is very walkable to get to the light rail. And I think that this is a good place for us to put a diverse set of housing that's immediately adjacent to transit and also to retail and commercial options that people out in that area don't necessarily, west of South Boulevard over to 77 don't necessarily have an access to. So I'll generally be in support of this. Anybody else got any questions, comments? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion on item number 10 from our agenda. So,
having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-183, as it appears before us and in the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Second, Neely.
And for the first time tonight, we have the Sealy-Neely combo. It's been properly moved by Commissioner Sealy and seconded by Commissioner Neely. All those in favor of approval of the petition, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That's 7-0. Yay. We're on to the next item.
Yay. Not nay.
Oh, boy.
Item 11 on our agenda, for those of you who are now salivating at home. It's a Pavlovian response, that's it. Rezoning petition number 2022-212 by Chipotle Mexican Grill of Colorado LLC. And Holly, take us through this one.
Thank you. This petition was on your last zoning committee meeting agenda. It's coming back tonight because during the decision portion of the August 21st zoning meeting, it was recommended that it be sent back to zoning committee because of a change to the transportation provisions regarding bike lanes. So we'll just go back through it now. The petition itself is for 0.86 acres located on the northwest quadrant of the intersection of Park Road and East Woodlawn Road, south of Drexel Place. The proposal is to go from B1CD, which was previously for gas station development conditional plan, to MUD conditional mixed use development. The policy map recommends community activity center. The proposal itself is in alignment with the community activity center place type, includes pedestrian improvements such as the bike lane notes, as well as a walk-up window. And so it's generally consistent with the goals outlined in the community activity center place type. So after the previous zoning committee meeting, they modified the language back to a previous iteration of the language in the conditional notes as it relates to bike lanes, so that it's no longer committing to construct the bike facilities, but rather they will reserve space for the future bike lanes. And CDOT reviewed this and had no issue with that change. So we are fine with it on our end, but we wanted to come back to you just because that is quite a difference in terms of what they're committing to on the bike lanes there. But again, there is still a commitment to reserve the space for the bike lanes. They just differed as opposed to constructing the bike lanes in full. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Holly. Do we have any questions, comments, issues? Commissioner Lansdale?
I'll address the bike lane issue there. You know, it's a tough one. You know, if we had the philosophy of let's not build a bike lane, let's not build a road because it doesn't connect to anything else right now, we wouldn't have any roads. We have that kind of concept around bike lanes because there's nothing there now. We shouldn't build one. I'm not of that philosophy, but this is a challenging intersection. The loss of the bike lane as a design feature really impacts the local residences and the apartments and the mixed-use developments associated with this parcel. By the same token, there's also other opportunities down the road at Drexel for connection to greenways and access along Park Road as well. So I appreciate the changes to the original language, but I'm sad about the loss of the commitment of the bike lane. I think it could be a significant feature, an icon for the walkability, bikeability, and all access to Park Road Shopping Center and the Woodlawn Park intersection.
You good? Anybody else have any comments? Commissioner Russell?
No, I would just echo Commissioner Lansdale's thoughts there on the bike lane. I think we don't put as much of a premium on them because, quite frankly, it's not a car. And so we don't think it's important. You know, and I understand, again, understanding the reason why, that doesn't mean I have to like it. So I would think that, you know, I hope we think seriously about other modes of transportation and other modes of interacting with sites in the future as we go forward on rezonings.
Mr. Sealy?
I also want to echo the same sentiments about the bike lane and remind everyone that this is about as close to 10-minute neighborhood as we get in, more suburban oriented parts of the city that are pretty close to the center city. It's extremely disappointing to me that this is not going ahead and getting built. That said, the commitment is there, and I hope that the rest of the city honors that commitment and connects bike lanes there.
Any other comments? Commissioner Wilden?
I said it last time, but I'm very excited that this will no longer be a gas station. And that now there will be burritos there, hopefully, fingers crossed, so.
I think there were burritos at the gas station before.
That's disgusting. But I think besides burritos at gas stations, which I will never eat, I think that this is a great example of how to do fast casual or fast food without having a drive-through. We need less car intensity all across Charlotte, and as excited as I was for the bike lanes, and now that they're not going to be totally there, I will definitely be keeping in mind in terms of accountability moving forward for future bike lanes.
Any other comments do we have? Otherwise, Commissioner Lansdale?
I was going to make a motion.
We will have a motion from Commissioner Lansdale now.
Well, before I make the motion, I will have one more comment. I hope the petitioner will contact North Carolina Department of Transportation and seek highway safety improvement funds for the state roads that adjoin this parcel and expedite the potentially full payment of the bike lane installation and future improvements. Commissioner Lansdale, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend the approval of petition number 2022212 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Motion has been properly made by Commissioner Lansdale and seconded by Commissioner Wilden. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes 7-0, and as has been said, burritos will be coming to the intersection of Park Road and Woodlawn. Everybody's happy now.
And then I can go to Suarez and get some desserts.
Oh,
It's gonna be great.
I think Commissioner Wilden has just volunteered to buy burritos for everyone.
Yes.
Okay. We shall continue on our track this evening. We're up to petition number 12, rezoning petition number 2022-219 by Scott Allred, and John Kinley will take us through this petition.
Okay, this is approximately 13.02 acres on the south side of Albemarle Road, east of Manchester Lane and west of Willgrove Mint Hill Road. You all did see this petition at the last meeting, but the petitioner asked that it come back to you all due to some clarifying information that you all expressed wanting info on. It is currently zone CG, general commercial, N1A, neighborhood 1. Zoning, and the proposed zoning is RAMFCD, multifamily residential conditional. The 2040 policy map calls for neighborhood 1 place type for the site. This is the plan that they presented, 60 single-family attached dwelling units with basically a new public road that would extend from Albemarle Road to the rear of the site, abutting the portion that's in the Mint Hill jurisdiction. Provides a Class C buffer around the site adjacent to single-family zoning and uses. Constructs an 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot multi-use path or sidewalk against the site frontage on Albemarle Road. Provides 30% open space to account in part for existing wetland stream buffers and pond depicted on the site plan. Provides ordinance required buffers and commits to architectural standards and limits detached lighting. Since the public hearing in your all's last meeting, they've provided a version of the site plan that highlights the undevelopable portions of the site that you can see down in the bottom left-hand corner. Essentially highlighting areas where there's post-construction buffers, swim buffers. There's some utility easements on the planned north of that site where the existing wetlands and the pond are. Basically limiting the areas where buildings and the layout of the road can be placed. So resulting in the plan that they have provided and presented to us. They also have provided a concept of how the Mint Hill portion of the site could be developed. Just note again that this is not part of the conditional site plan, and the Mint Hill portion is not included in this rezoning, but it's being provided just to show how that could potentially be laid out and connect into the existing streets in Mint Hill's jurisdiction and this new public road. The staff recommends approval of the petition. There are not any outstanding issues. The petition is inconsistent with the policy map recommendation for the neighborhood one place type, but it provides additional housing types and options to the area, limits the total number of units to 60, which is just a density of 4.6 units to the acre. And despite being inconsistent with the recommended place type, the proposed low density attached residential design provides compatible transition to the existing single family residential uses west of the site and the commercial uses that are to the east of the site. There are existing wetlands and existing ponds on the site, and the lower density attached dwelling units allow for preservation of those environmental features. It constructs a new public street that would be stubbed to the rezoning boundary to facilitate future connectivity. And all the units are accessed from private alleyways, so there's no units that have individual driveways to the new public street. And it constructs an 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot multi-use path along Albemarle Road, which is a major thoroughfare. It would change the policy map recommendation for neighborhood 1 to neighborhood 2, and that's largely due to the form of it being townhomes. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, John. Before we begin the discussion on this, we did see this last time, and I do apologize to the committee members. We need to make sure that we focus. This petition is unusual. I believe, I don't know if I've ever had one come to us where we're split across multiple jurisdictions. And my apology is that I did not tame you folks in on the fact that we can only be smart about the part of this petition that is in our jurisdiction. The Mint Hill part, that's lovely, not what we're here to do. So I wanted to take this moment to just let everybody know that that's what we're doing here tonight. And the Mint Hill thing presented to us, lovely, but we're not here to decide on that. We're here to talk about the part that's in our jurisdiction. And now I will be quiet. And are there any questions? I'm not hearing anything. Commissioner Russell, you got that finger up?
Yeah, I have one, but it's not a fully baked question yet. So like looking at this, I feel like because we've got so many constraints with developable area that we lose that connectivity. So I'm wondering, like from the perspective of like a cottage court development, and I'm trying to remember the discussion I had, what the restriction was that pretty much would require a variance, and that's what my question hangs on. It was for staff.
Okay.
You have to come back to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sometimes people get the mic and they start talking.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, you know how that goes.
Rambles.
Whatever.
Same cottage court kind of thought in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know how to ask the question.
Yeah.
This feels applicable, like it would be a great cottage court development. But I don't know enough about the cottage court development.
Yeah. And one of the fun parts that it's lovely. We all know we could design the perfect thing, but we can't redesign. We have to deal with what they put in front of us. And one of the things that I appreciate, and I'll just say my piece now, I appreciated was getting this additional information about the undevelopable parts of the property. Because when I originally looked at this, I just saw the pond and I thought the topo was the only thing that was causing, issues. And it's like, oh, power lines, don't you love those, right? And other things, and the initial site plan we got, I guess the stream's just that little blue line in the middle, but it's not just that little blue line in the middle, right? So for me, is this perfect site? Not necessarily, but I think that they've taken what they've got and they've given us something that within what staff says is valid. And sometimes, I go to this place where I say, I have to rely on staff's, analysis of this, what staff has analyzed, and they've said, this meets what we can live with. And so I'm on that side of it right now. But that's my comments. And again, everybody else, I did that to pace while Will was formulating his question. I don't know if he actually formulated a question or not.
I did, but it is very broad, and this is for John. So what kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, variances or grace is given when you have a site like this where you're really constrained from what you can develop versus what you can't? And I know it's a really broad question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, I guess part of it would be the post-construction ordinance, and I'm not an expert in that. And unfortunately, we don't have anybody from engineering or stormwater to answer that. So, it might be a better question, sir, for the petitioner's agent, the designer. I think we have Paul Pinnell here at least. And I'm not sure if there's anyone else, but yeah, so those do present limitations. There are some allowances for, certain encroachments that you can do in those sorts of areas to allow some flexibility. And I think you have to mitigate to some extent some of those things as well. So I think there's a lot of factors that, folks who are designing the site plans have to take into account when they're trying to figure out what's the best fit for a site. From staff's perspective, what we're looking for mainly is, does it comply with the ordinance and the district that they're requesting? And does it seem to provide, if it's not consistent with the policy map, does it seem to provide compatibility and consistency in terms of transitions and context in the area? And for us, this petition does that, and it meets the ordinance requirements as well. So, would a cottage core or something like that work? Possibly. But, we also don't do the work to design folks' site plans either, just as you all wouldn't do that. And so we kind of have to take into just in consideration what is presented to us. So, like I said, the petitioner may be able to give a little bit more detail about the different constraints and why the plan is the way it is. But I don't know if that really answers your question, but yeah.
It's a broad response to a broad question. You good?
Yes. Thank you.
Anyone else got anything that they want to add, comment? If not, we're to that part where I say, could I get a motion on the disposition of item number 12 on our agenda?
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of the petition number 2022-219 and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Neely, second.
And yet again, the magic combo, it's been properly moved by Commissioner Seeley and seconded by Commissioner Neely. And all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's 7-0, and that motion passes. And we are off to item number 13. Rezoning petition, you good?
Oh, yeah.
All right, stretch it out.
Everybody take a moment there. Just stretch your shoulders. You need to stand up. There's T. Oh, gosh, they left. They must not love us. Item number 13, rezoning petition number 2023-013 by Toll Brothers Apartment Living. Joe Mangum is going to give us the 411.
Thank you. This is approximately 19.75 acres located on the northeast side of Choate Circle between Legray Lane and Freshwell Road. Currently the site of the Piedmont Kennel Club. Current zoning is N1A. Proposed zoning is UR2CD. 2040 policy map recommends community activity center place type. Proposal would allow for up to 350 multifamily dwelling units, as well as accessory uses. Establish a 30-foot setback from the future back of curb of Choate Circle. Includes three-story buildings with a maximum height of 40 feet and one 4-story building with a maximum height of 50 feet. Commits to providing a 50-foot Class C buffer and 6-foot tall chain link fence along the eastern property boundary where adjacent to single-family residences, provides a 35-foot Class C buffer along the southern property boundary, improves 21,780 square feet as a public dog park to be dedicated to Mecklenburg County, provides a minimum of 5,000 square feet of improved open space to include at least 3 of the following elements: walking paths, landscaping, seating areas, and structures appropriate for an open space area. Also commits to the following transportation improvements: construction of a 4-leg roundabout at the intersection of Choate Circle and Walker Creek Drive. That's the site access point. Dedication of 41 feet of right-of-way measured from the existing center line of Choate Circle. An 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot multi-use path along Choate Circle. 8-foot planting strip and 8-foot sidewalk along the internal public street. Also, an 8-foot planting strip and 6-foot sidewalk on the opposite side of Choate Circle between Walker Creek Drive and the Steel Creek Athletic Association property. Since the public hearing, the petitioner has addressed outstanding issues related to transportation and site and building design. There are no outstanding issues. It is consistent with the Community Activity Center place type recommendation. Staff recommends approval, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much, Joe. Anybody have any questions, issues, comments? Commissioner Winokur.
I know that the developer very much wants to market that, 1 acre reserve for Park and Rec as a dog park. He kept saying it throughout the matter. Park and Rec, dog parks are awful environmentally, but they're great for marketing apartment complexes. Park and Rec didn't indicate that they were going to make it a dog park. Is there something like specific, or are we all clear that this is Mecklenburg Park and Rec's property? Does the developer plan to make a dog park himself, to make it a public dog park in conformity with Meck Park and Rec standards? 1 acre dog park is not usually what they do. Park and Rec, that is.
Right. So I'm looking at the conditional notes here. Petitioner will dedicate and convey to Mecklenburg County 21,000 plus square feet. Prior to the dedication of public park area to Mecklenburg County, petitioner will improve the area for use as a public dog park. The improved public park area will be dedicated prior to the issuance of the final CO. If Mecklenburg County chooses not to accept the improved public park area, the petitioner will then retain ownership of the park area and will be responsible for maintenance. If the petitioner retains ownership of the public park area, it will remain open to the public, and a public access easement will be recorded to assure public use. I can keep going. That's kind of
I hear you on that. Thank you. It seems to be an open issue and an open question in my mind that prior to City Council ruling on this, whatever happens today during this work session, but that, this was a hot button at the time during the hearing. The dog park was not the central issue of what was discussed during the hearing, but I wanted to bring that up, that it seems to be a glaringly unaddressed issue. 1 acre dog parks is not what Park and Rec does. Those are, there's a lot of problems with it, and it's a difference in terminology between what the developer wants Park and Rec to do, which they will not do, just something just to please the developer. And it sounds like one of these situations where we'll set aside money for a traffic light. Oh, no traffic light, we'll keep the money. And I'm just curious as to how serious they are about that conveyance, to making that an easement for public right of way. And there's a number of ways they can do it, but it seems like A and B haven't connected up, and I'm very concerned about that. So it just sounds like that's going to be a missed opportunity where they were able to promote it during open hearings. Oh, we're granting all this property, but at the end of the day, I'm worried that the T's won't be crossed. So I don't know if there's anything else, probably nothing you can say, but I don't know what else the developer can do to make sure that that easement is granted and that there's something, we don't have a catch-all to say, oh, well, it didn't work out. We proposed something that we knew Park and Rec would never, ever do, so that's my concern.
I hear what you're saying, Rick. I guess I don't know that, these things are always kind of fluid to a degree. And this sounds like, here's the path we're going to take. If we approve this, they could get to the last part of that path, which isn't in this meeting, right? And things could change, yes. But I don't know that there's anything in this meeting that we can do to obviate that eventuality.
And so, this is just one of those things. I'm just wanting to make sure that we highlight it. Obviously, there's nothing that can be done now. I should have maybe contacted staff in advance of this meeting to express these concerns, to talk about it with the developer. And I'll make sure I try to do that earlier later on. But I did want to highlight that this is, that what is a promotional campaign by a developer should be matched up with, an actual conveyance and an easement. And they say, well, we'll do that during the permitting process. I'm just curious how many of those fall through the cracks. I thank everyone for their time, and I apologize for being late.
Yes, and we may accept the apology for being late, but we may just use it against you in the future. I do appreciate your bringing that perspective, though. And again, understanding, we're a part of this process, et cetera, et cetera. And I hope that got to everybody and everybody heard that. Anybody else have questions, comments, issues? Is that Lansdale, Commissioner Lansdale?
One quick question. Anybody know how many parking spaces are on this parcel?
A lot.
There typically aren't a specific number of parking spaces on a rezoning plan, because once you get into actual permitting development, you might gain a space, and don't want that to conflict with the rezoning plan.
I'm happy with a lot. Someone else said, so.
It's a lot.
I'm not going to be supporting this petition because I do not believe that the site plan is enough to support on-street parking on public street A to serve and support the uses and destinations. The petitioner has done some incredible work and designs for transportation around the roundabout, pedestrian safety, sidewalks and other pieces, but to create a new road, local residential wide street that has on-street parking throughout, I'm not supporting this petition as it stands today. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else got a comment? I will just, if nobody else, I will ask one question of CDOT. There's one public street stub there at Public Street A, but I guess there's no other place for connectivity out the back of this thing, so to speak. Because there's neighborhood immediately northwestish, northeastish, I guess.
Yes, the street stub to the north is a apartment development that's been there for, I believe, quite some time.
Yeah.
But you're correct, out of the eastern side of the development is a single family development.
Okay.
And there are some small single family parcels to the south, but it's a pretty small triangular set of parcels to the south. And so I think in coordination with subdivision, it was determined that the benefits there as far as increasing connectivity.
I thought to the north, there's like a little wedge of green there. I drove by in the morning and I noticed how the road did a funky thing there. And it was like, wow, people must come around that curve way too fast all the time. And when I looked back at it and I saw there's one way in, one way out of this adventure, I just thought, is there possibility to have another one anywhere? I'm good with that explanation. So anybody else? See, that was an example of somebody making up their question as they went along.
Good job. Wow, my shit.
I have the big boy pants on tonight. Are there any other questions or comments? And if not, we will hear a motion on the disposition of item number 13 on our agenda. Do I have a motion?
Hearing none, this is Lansdale. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff, I recommend denial of this petition.
as it appears before us and to not adopt the consistency statement as it appears before us.
It's been properly moved by Lansdale and seconded by Commissioner Winiker. Let's get this right. In favor of the denial, please say aye.
Aye.
What have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed to the denial, please say nay. Nay. So it's 5-2. All right, so we have to come up with a consistency. Those who are opposed have to come up with a consistency statement, and those who are in favor have to come up with a consistency statement or rationale. All right, so I don't know who wants to lead that party. I'm looking at you. Winiker's looking back over at Lansdale.
The consistency statement to deny is supported by me, and the fact that the public road A is insufficient in its design to provide traffic and transportation solutions and does not fit nor support the on-street parking for retail and other destination and uses.
In addition,
Yes, go ahead.
I support what Commissioner Lansdale has stated regarding the traffic and the on-site scenarios, in addition to the lack of appropriate dedication of public space.
All right, anybody else want to add on to that? Then for the nay, I will give Commissioner Seeley first go, or Neely. Sorry, the two of you are like twins. I don't know, Siamese or something. Yeah, whatever. Give you first right to say your piece.
I am in support of opportunity housing in that area, which is consistent with what's already developed in that area.
And I would add my echoing of that particular thing, that this provides a significant amount of housing in the area, and it is very, it's appropriate. This area is like a community activity center, I think. It's zoned for a community activity center, surprisingly to me. So this is where we want to put that housing, right on top of the places where people can spend their money and walk around and entertain themselves. And I believe that that's a valid place for us to be. Is that enough for you, Joe? We good? On to item number 14 on our agenda. Rezoning petition number 2023-014 by Charlotte Truck Center. Michael.
Yes, thank you. This is approximately 1.29 acres located on the south side of Cannon Avenue, east of North Graham Street and north of Interstate 85. The current zoning is N1B. The proposed zoning is B2 CD, general business conditional. The 2040 policy map recommends the neighborhood 1 place type for this site. As far as the proposal, it allows off-street accessory parking for the uses located on the adjacent site, the trucking company. Off-street parking would include customer parking, employee parking, and the parking of inventory vehicles only. No principal or accessory buildings will be developed on this site. Vehicular access to Cannon Avenue is not allowed, although they do provide an 8-foot planting strip and a 6-foot sidewalk along that section of Cannon Drive. And they are providing a 75-foot buffer along the western boundary of the site next to the residential there. There have been no changes since the public hearing, no outstanding issues. So it is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation. We feel that it will offer a better transition from the surrounding uses to the existing properties adjacent to the proposed site. And staff does recommend approval of this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any comments, questions, concerns? I'm looking around and just seeing beautiful faces staring at me, so I will take a motion on the disposition of item number 14 on our agenda.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-014 and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Lansdale, second.
It's been properly moved by Commissioner Seeley, seconded by Commissioner Lansdale. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That one also passes 7-0. Thank you very much, everybody. We're on to petition number 15. And this is rezoning petition number 2023-022 by Charter Properties, Inc. Joe, your party again.
Thanks, and we're doubling up on petitions connecting to other jurisdictions.
Oh, is this one go?
Harris County.
Harris County.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yes.
It's right over there.
Yeah, I know, but
Is the line where the line is right there? Because that
So
would.
the northeast line is connection to Cabarrus County.
yeah.
That's right. The top, yeah.
So this is approximately just shy of 14.5 acres located west of North Tryon Street, east of Moorhead Road, and north of Floyd Smith Office Park Drive,
It makes a lot of sense.
just south of Charlotte Motor Speedway. Current zoning is N1A. Proposed zoning is R8 MFCD. The 2040 policy map recommends neighborhood 1 place type. And the proposal is for a neighborhood of 70 single-family attached residential dwelling units with accessory uses.
Yeah.
There are 2 development areas, northwest and southeast. They do not connect to each other, but do connect to adjacent development or propose to connect to adjacent development in Cabarrus County. A 30-foot setback will be established from the future right-of-way of both Moorhead Road and North Tryon Street, and a 15-foot setback from the right-of-way of internal streets. Commits to the following transportation improvements: dedication of a minimum of 50 feet of right-of-way from center line of Moorhead Road, installation of an 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot multi-use path along the site's frontages of both Moorhead Road and North Tryon Streets. Tryon Street also commits to architectural standards, including pitched roofs and covered porches or stoops that are a minimum of 3 feet deep. Since the public hearing, the petitioner has addressed an outstanding issue related to site and building design. There is one remaining outstanding issue, that is the connection directly to North Tryon Street, which NCDOT has opposed. I understand that the petitioner has been coordinating with NCDOT and will make provide a revised site plan following zoning committee to address that outstanding issue. While the petition is inconsistent with that neighborhood 1 place type recommendation, it would provide another housing option in the North Tryon Street corridor. Some of the adjacent parcels have already been approved for multifamily residential. It's also a long, narrow parcel that has utility right-of-way and stream buffers, making it challenging for neighborhood 1 place type development, as well as pedestrian and bicycle improvements along both of the major thoroughfares. Staff does recommend approval, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Joe. And in a preemptive move, I'm going to say, remember, we only can deal with the part of this that's in Mecklenburg County. Thank you. And hopefully we won't have to say that ever again. I don't know. Are there any questions, comments? I will. Okay, well, I'm prepared now. Winokur.
Curious to Charlotte DOT's comments about the outstanding.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. So we have, throughout the process, we've continued to relay to the petitioner about NCDOT's stance on the driveway and that we would not be in support as the plan is currently. So the solution has been to, the petitioner agrees to remove the driveway connection with a conditional note stating that If connectivity cannot be provided to the adjacent development, they need access to public streets. So that would be the only circumstance in which the connection would be allowed.
Okay.
So when you say that connection, you're talking about the connection to North Triangle. Are you talking?
Right. So if the property in Cabarrus County could not be developed for whatever reason, and that portion of the development went away, then they would have no ability to connect to a public street without that access. So that's the only circumstance in which they would be allowed the connectivity to North Tryon Street.
Oh, yeah. So why would they not just be allowed right in only?
Well, so NCDOT's stance was no access. So right in, right out would be the condition if that scenario happened, which they couldn't connect to the Cabarrus County side.
This puts us in that party where, anything could happen over in Cabarrus County.
Correct.
I'm just saying.
So essentially, we've landlocked ourselves in the 14 acres.
That's fun.
But no, that isn't out on Moorhead.
Not on Moorhead.
No, because
it goes into Cabarrus County.
It goes into Cabarrus County.
Right. So essentially, you've created a lot that you can't develop because you can't access to the main road. You've got two main roads that flank you.
But that's well, actually, they could develop and do something on Moorhead. I see that's where they poke their tree save, and tree save could be replaced, and I mean that is put in another place. But
would that be allowed?
Well, that's
Moorhead.
I'm just saying a connection could be made there in a different design, but then again, I'm back to that part where I said, we're not here to design people's projects, but I'm just.
I mean,
Yeah.
So we create the very thing that we're trying to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it is a challenge, I guess, that, we are actually beholden to the fact that part that we have no control over, the Cabarrus County part, may be the part that makes, and I hadn't thought about that scenario.
If I could real quick though, y'all.
Yeah.
We don't have control over access regardless of whether it's in Mecklenburg County or Cabarrus County. I mean, the access is going to be controlled by NCDOT. So, it's not something that we can really get too caught up on. If they get the access point on North Tryon, as Jake mentioned, it would be right in, right out. NCDOT can look at this holistically in between both jurisdictions, and their preference is to have the access on the other side of the county line. But for us, there are access options, and that does include potential access on 29 if NCDOT sees that the access in Cabarrus County isn't going to work. But for us, we have to look at it just that land use perspective. There will be access provided in some form, but either way we slice it, we're not going to have control over that access, and that's going to be at NCDOT's discretion.
So if I understand this correctly, if I may, Winokur, that we're just, okay, send this into the wind and then hope NCDOT makes a good decision later on down the road, and that's the best we can do. Is that my understanding?
Our role will be, we'll look at the land use, whether the land use is appropriate. The access will get worked out through the permitting process, and it will either be as planned in the Cabarrus County side through the additional development, or there'll be an access provided solely for this phase of the project at NCDOT's discretion.
Commissioner Lansdale, did you still have?
Sure. Yeah.
I heard something down there. Perhaps you might have something to say.
It's interesting that the philosophy of NCDOT sometimes, allowing a left turn lane on Highway 16 at a very tight congested area. So I'm trying to understand the logic, but I appreciate the logic. I don't think this petition is ready for approval at this point. We're not losing necessarily a large parcel. Commissioner Russell, I mean, these are two significant gas pipelines that are adjacent and underneath this parcel. There's going to be some access that's going to be needed and required along those lines. At this point, I just don't think this parcel is ready to be approved the way it sits. And this is one time I think we all can agree, hopefully, maybe, actually not. But that, until transportation issues are resolved, the petition, I don't think is ready to move forward. Thank you.
And again, I just want to clarify that the transportation issues are resolved essentially. They're resolved in the sense that NCDOT is coordinating access for the project, and they've told us where they would like the access to be, and the petitioner is trying to respond to that. So I'm not sure how much further we'll get in terms of clarification on access, because there's not one proposed on Moorhead, and NCDOT has been clear about their stance on North Tryon. So I'm not trying to circumvent, zoning committee's process and discretion, but we have to make sure that we're looking at this from the standpoint of we have another entity that's controlling the access for this, and we would likely not get additional information that we might be looking for.
And thank you, Dave. And I would, and I'm coming to Jake after this, but Dave, what you said was exactly correct. Within the bounds of what we have to deal with, we're here for the land use party. NCDOT has the access, and we don't have our hands on that steering wheel. So, Jake.
I'll just clarify that in a vacuum, if this site did not have additional connectivity into Cabarrus County, then a right in, right out would be the appropriate access for a parcel like this, and it would be allowed, for access. So it's a net positive that there's the potential for connectivity into the Cabarrus County side and removal of an access point as part of development of this parcel.
Thank you, Jake. That's I see that point. Anybody else got any questions, comments, concerns? Commissioner Winokur?
I'll support it based on that clarification, and obviously staff knows what they're talking about, so I trust what they're saying.
All right. Do I have a motion on the disposition of item number 15?
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of the petition number 2023-022 and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears right up there.
Second, Neely.
Just like, let's see, who this is, Montana to Rice. Yeah, that would be it. It's been motioned by Commissioner Seeley and seconded by Commissioner Neely. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
That one on the nay? So 6-1?
Correct.
Thank you. Nay, do you have rationale?
Sure. And in response to my nay, I do not believe that this parcel and its land use and transportation design provides safe and equitable mobility as it's presented before us today.
Thanks, sir. Is that good for you, Joe?
Yes.
All right, we're on to item number 16, people. We are on the downhill side of the mountain. Our we're zooming down. We're doing like 120 kilometers an hour, and we have no brakes.
Ooh,
Something like that, whatever. Rezoning petition number 2023-027 by 401 South College Street, NC LLC. And Holly will take us through this one.
Thank you. This site is a little under 3 acres, located on the south side of South College Street, west of East Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, north of South Brevard Street, and east of East Brooklyn Village, right along the blue line, as you can see there, and directly adjacent to the Charlotte Convention Center. It is in the heart of Uptown, and it is currently zoned UC, which is what UMUD translated to automatically on June 1st. And they are requesting to go to UMUD optional. They wanted some of the flexibility of some optional provisions while still developing under that dense urban zoning district that we look to see in this area. This is just a visual showing where in Uptown it is, again, right along the blue line against Charlotte Convention Center in the densest development that we see. The policy map calls for regional activity center, so the proposal for UMUD optional is in alignment with the regional activity center place type. The proposal itself is for all uses allowed in UMUD, together with the optional provisions just for a little bit of flexibility as they go to develop the site. Those optional provisions include allowing maneuvering in the setback for valet parking services, allowing a 50% reduction in the required number of loading docks, allowing the site to not adhere to street wall provisions on temporary walls and or related walls between phases. Temporary landscaping and or murals will be utilized along such walls to complement pedestrian scale interest and activity between development phases. It is also requesting to allow urban open space requirements to be met anywhere inside of the rezoning boundary. Urban open space will comply with the ordinance design standards, and they'll also be improving that existing open space that's shown there in the green hatch on the site plan. So that's shared open space, and so they'll be improving that with things such as seating, decorative lighting, public art, or other pedestrian amenities. It will also further some of the Petscape goals that we have by committing to construct a portion of the rail trail contingent upon the convention center removing utility boxes from the corridor and the convention center constructing the portion of the rail trail from the convention center to the existing terminus as at Brooklyn Village Avenue. It also notes that streetscape and roadway improvements will occur in tandem with the development along each frontage. So at the public hearing, the outstanding issues were mostly as it relates to transportation items through CDOT. And the petitioner met with CDOT, I think the day after or a couple days after the public hearing to work through those outstanding issues. And as a result, the petitioner committed to a comprehensive transportation review, which identified some improvements that they will make to the intersection of Martin Luther King Boulevard and College Street regarding pedestrian infrastructure and their commitment to construct a portion of the rail trail. Some of those improvements will include upgrading of 4 accessible ramps at the intersections along College Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and reserving space for a future bus stop within the pedestrian amenity zone, which was a request from CATS. They have also addressed all technical revisions that were listed at the time of the public hearing. There is just one more requested outstanding issue to remove the site plan call out and on the site plan that references that the existing convention center facilities along the rail trail corridor will be relocated by others. So it is in good shape now that they've addressed a majority of those CDOT issues. We just have that one remaining item to clear up, and I will be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Holly. Do I see Commissioner Winokur has a question?
So what's the status on getting that updated? Or has the developer said they'll remove that call out prior to city council or?
I believe that the call out is just a technical error that was left after some revisions to the notes committing to the rail trail installation. And so I'm not sure. I don't know if Holly knows if they've committed to it, but I believe it's just a technical.
It is. I haven't gotten for sure clarity that it will be committed to, but like Jake mentioned, it is just a technical revision. So I imagine that it will be addressed. Bridget Grant isn't here, but we do have Keith McBain if you would like.
Well, we will remove the call.
If we could suspend whatever the language is to suspend, I would like to get the official word on the record that the call out will be removed.
Moved by Winokur, seconded by Wilden. All those in favor of suspending the session for a moment to get a question answered, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Commissioner Winokur, if you would formulate your question.
Go ahead. Are you going to remove the call out as requested by Charlotte DOT? Thank you.
Yes, sir. We will be happy to do that, and we'll submit that revised plan after the meeting.
All right. We're good. We will resume our session now. And then I had a question and I can't remember it. So are there any other questions, comments anybody has about this? The pedestrian, the list of things, there was something about maintaining the pedestrian environment and artwork and blah, blah, blah. That didn't make quite sense to me. But if you go back on the slides, I can probably tell you which one it was. Allowing for temporary walls on temporary wall, requires adherence to street wall provisions on temporary walls. What is that?
I think they just wanted flexibility in the design standards since they are pretty stringent in especially in the UMA district. And so they'll still have the landscaping murals as they currently have landscaping murals, if you've noticed on.
I saw some paint and stuff up there, but I didn't know. I just assumed that's what you do when you have an old building you're about to tear down. You just kind of paint it and everybody says, oh, that's great. A little Quick Trip's coming.
I'm not going to pretend to give you like a perfect definition of my understanding.
All right. Well, it is not a showstopper for me, but that was not something that I felt like I'd seen before. But we've done very few of these in the middle of downtown. Anybody else have any questions, issues, comments? Do I hear a motion on the disposition of item number 16 on our agenda?
Lansdale, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move we recommend the approval of petition number 2023-027 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Second, Seeley.
Whoa. Dibs, Weldon.
As a race for second there. It's been properly moved by Lansdale and seconded by Seeley.
Whoa.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That motion passes 7-0. You know, if we weren't having fun here, this would be whoa kind of a meeting. Just saying. Well, yeah. Item number 17, and this is rezoning petition number 2023-029 by Magic LLC. And our virtual Claire, which I assume is Dave, will guide us through this one.
All the audio seems to not be working.
We're gonna need, do we need a moment? If we can rearrange these if you want to have a moment. Do you guys? Do we need to take a minute? For those of you who I guess can hear me out there in online land, we're having the dreaded technical. I mean, this, I'm sure this has a rating from Nielsen of like hundreds. There are millions of people out there listening. Tens of fractions of tens. Okay. I defer.
I think Dave is logged off. Take you through it. I can take you through it. I don't know how they want to do them.
Okay, I mean, we can do the last two and come back to this one if you want to. Should we do that? Okay, everybody, we're going to rearrange agenda here just a little bit. We'll come back to item number 17. But we're going to proceed with item number 18. Oh, we're going to proceed with item number 19. Can we do that one? Okay, we can proceed with item number 19, rezoning petition number 2023-049 by Wells Fargo Bank. All right, and Emma will take us through item number 19 while we hopefully we'll get Dave back on the mic here shortly. Go ahead, Emma.
2023-049 is approximately 30.1 acres located along the north side of Vance Davis Drive and west side of Old Statesville Road, south of Interstate 485. The current zoning is office and the proposed zoning is manufacturing and logistics 1. The 2040 policy map calls for manufacturing and logistics for this site. It is conventional, so there is no associated site plan. Staff does recommend approval for this petition, and the petition is consistent with the 2040 policy map. This map might already look a little familiar to you because just next to this site, I think one of my petitions as well, is already being rezoned to a similar zoning. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Emma. Are there any questions for petition number or item number 19 on our agenda? I'm seeing nothing but smiling faces again. Do I have a motion for the disposition of item number 19 on our agenda?
Motion. Okay, fine. Motion to approve, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff. To approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-049 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Second, Wilden.
Finally. Strong second. She's right in there. It has been properly moved by Commissioner Neely and seconded by Commissioner Wilden. Seconded by Commissioner Wilden. All those in favor of this petition, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No one opposed. That one passes 7-0. We're going to go on to item number 20 on our agenda, and that is rezoning petition number 2023-050 by Mudassar Mohammed. Please forgive me if I got the emphasis on the syllables wrong on that one. And Emma, this is you as well.
2023-050 is approximately 0.219 acres located on the east side of Donna Avenue, south of Atmore Street, and north of the plaza. The current zoning is ML1 Manufacturing and Logistics. The proposed zoning is N1D, Neighborhood 1D. The 2040 policy map calls for a Neighborhood 1 place type. This is a conventional petition. Staff does recommend approval, and it is consistent with the 2040 policy map. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, and John or Holly or Joe can, or Michael, anyone, can maybe do a little bit better of elaboration, but I just want to point out that for some of the homes that are next to this zoning area, we looked into it and because we were just curious, and a lot of this zoning has been like set way back when. So it's kind of the reason some of these areas were translated the way they were is because that's how they were built. So I think when we were looking at some certain things, the history didn't totally align with what we currently see, and that's just because of how things were developed in the first place. If that's too vague, I believe someone else might be able to elaborate a little bit more on it, but that was my understanding when I talked to GIS about it. So I'll take any questions if you guys have any.
Thank you, Emma. We've had some big things happen tonight, but that's, anybody got any questions, comments? Do I hear a motion for the disposition of item number 20 on our agenda?
Blaisdell. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move we recommend the approval of petition number 2023-050 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Russell, second.
It's been properly moved by Lansdale and seconded by Russell. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that would be 7-0. That one passes. So now we're going to go back. I don't know if we were able to reestablish Dave.
Holly will do 17 and I'll do, or sorry, is it 17? Yeah, 17. Holly does 17, I'll do 18.
That's okay. Well, Dave, we will miss you. We'll just imagine that you went to the bathroom and lost your connection.
Major Dave.
Petition Major Dave. That's it. The Bowie. The Bowie guy did that. Number 17, petition number 2023-029 by Magic LLC. And John, you said you were going to do that one? Holly's going to do that one?
I'll do that one.
Okay. All right. Lead us through it.
So this petition is for 16.65 acres located on the east side of North Lake Center Parkway, just against I-485 and west of Interstate 77. This area was rezoned, I believe, last year, and it is coming in for a site plan amendment. So the current zoning is for B2 conditional, general business conditional, and they are proposing the site plan amendment as mentioned, just to modify essentially the building envelopes that were specified on the original plan. The policy map calls for commercial. So since it's just a minor modifications to, in the site plan amendment, it is consistent with that commercial place type. So the actual changes to this as from the previously approved conditional plan is to increase the maximum floor area for the automotive sales, repair, and rental uses from 78,000 feet to 110,000 feet. And minorly modifies those building envelopes specified for A, B, and C. It also corrected some of the labeling to the setbacks and corrected labelings to note the proposed 75-foot Class B buffer could be reduced by 25% with the installation of a fence or a wall. And it adds a note stating that the right-of-way for the public street located along the southern boundary of the site was annexed into the city of Charlotte in this past June. In fact, I think they're annexing any of these areas around here. I had pre-subs with them for annexation of these areas as they go through the rezoning process. So these are generally some minor changes to the originally approved conditional plan. So actually, you can go to that. There were no changes since the public hearing, and it looks like there are no outstanding issues. So given that these changes are pretty minor in nature, staff recommends approval of the petition.
Thank you, Holly. Just a quick question. Did you say the right-of-way is approved, but not the rest of the site? Is that what I'm hearing?
The
Or
annexation?
annex? Yeah.
So the annexations that we've approved, can you go back one? I think the annexation was up through the right of way, if I remember. Yes, it was actually. We annexed in June all the way to include the entirety of that right of way along the southern boundary of the actual development.
Okay.
I'm surprised I remember that.
Yeah, I would have thought that you'd get all of that, but hey.
Well, so I don't know that they were ready to annex. I mean, they've talked about it. I don't know for sure once they finish the rezoning process, if they will then proceed to annexation. Typically, though, we'd like them to finish up their rezoning process before they annex.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm feeling clearer now. Do I have any questions, comments, issues, concerns on this petition? If not, do I hear a motion for disposition on item number 17?
Having reviewed the petition, this is Neely, and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-029 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Second, Seeley.
Thank you. Gloriously back the other way. It's been properly moved by Neely and seconded by Seeley. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 7-0. And our last item for the evening is rezoning petition number 2023-030 by Rhine Land Holdings LLC. And John will get us through this one.
David's gonna get back on? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can do it, but it's fine.
He's holding us up. He's holding us up.
There he is.
All right.
That's great, Dave.
This petition, it's about 123 acres. It's off University City Boulevard, I-485 and Caldwell Park Drive. Next slide. It's zoned MX2 Innovative. It was recently rezoned to that for development of single family and attached multifamily residential. Prior to that, it was recommended on the previous land use plans for industrial. On the policy map, that did get updated to reflect neighborhood one and reflect those entitlements. The proposal that was presented at hearing is for up to 2.5 million square feet for a data center. That could also include some secondary uses that would include things like warehousing, distribution, but does also prohibit quite a few uses that would be found in the industrial districts that we typically see prohibited. And any of those accessory uses like warehousing, distribution, office would only comprise about 10% of the total square footage So again, the main focus of those uses is just the buildings for the data center. Vehicular access would come from Caldwell Park Drive, which would be constructed to local industrial standards and extended to the site. Emergency and temporary private access would be provided via Abercrombie Street. There would be a 12-foot multi-use path, 8-foot planting strip along Caldwell Park Drive and Caldwell Drive Extension. Building facades would be treated for the ones that are visible from public streets. They would use different surface materials, design elements to provide a little bit more interesting building, provides a minimum of 30-foot Class C buffer along 485, and then a 50-foot buffer adjacent to residential uses along University City Boulevard. And then you've got about 5 acres dedicated to Mecklenburg County Park and Rec for a greenway connection and public access area. And then changes since the hearing, they did delineate some of the areas where buildings would go. You can see that clouded there. It says proposed building line. So that would be the closest the buildings would generally encroach for the data center on the site. We had that addressed in reference to some questions and concerns raised even by staff at the hearing about noise from the facility. Believe between that location of the buildings and some additional notes that have been incorporated into the project, that those concerns for us have been alleviated. I believe from the community standpoint, a lot of that was generally addressed and concerns lessened from a site visit to a familiar, or excuse me, a similar facility. And the only other clarification point is the area that's just kind of south of where that little triangle piece is that's clouded out. That area is going to remain MX2 as was approved previously on this property, and that would still allow for some residential single-family detached development that's down there separated from the site. So that would stay intact from the previous entitlements that were approved. So at this point, a lot of the concerns that were raised at the hearing and questions, just wanting some additional info for staff, have been addressed. We do recommend approval of the petition. As I mentioned, it's inconsistent with that neighborhood one place type. And that was from that recent rezoning to the MX2 that was recently approved. But again, staff does recommend it, and we'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Do we have questions, comments? Anybody? I have one. There was, Dave, in that there was some notion of having differentiated exterior walls or something on there. Is that a part of the ordinance? And I'm just imagining that these walls are several hundred feet long, and I'm trying to find a valid purpose for having them be actually differentiated. And that's just a question about the ordinance that I'm looking for clarification on, if that's what it really says.
I know that in the UDO, we do have building facade lengths that can only get to a certain point before you have to have some variation and difference in massing. The I-2, typically, I'm not sure if that would even carry some of that, but they volunteered that just to create a little bit nicer building, particularly since University City Boulevard is, heavily trafficked, and you would probably see some of those facades from that public right of way. So not clear. I can't say if it's clearly a requirement in I-2, but certainly appreciate them doing that and trying to address the size of the buildings and create a little bit of some design interest in them.
Okay, all right. Just again, I'm clear now, but that was kind of odd to me. Anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns? Commissioner Lansdale?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment. Yeah, it was interesting when you did research on this particular product. When you go to the petitioner's website, the designs and the capacity were far different than what was presented to us in this petition. And I just struggle with the petition as it stands right now. And I'm not sure how to resolve my conflict internally for the type of land use and type of use this parcel is going to be used for in this location and the impact to our community. So thank you.
Anyone else have a comment, question, concern? If not, do I hear disposition on motion for disposition on item number 18? That's forward 18. Anyone?
Got houses.
Oh, God, land use humor.
All right. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this position, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-030 and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears above.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Winiker second.
Been moved by Seeley and seconded by Winiker. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nays? That's everybody? 7-0. What a wonderful way for us to end our evening here. It's been special. I've enjoyed it. I hope you all will go and
And I tell you,
call this meeting adjourned.
any of these that I designed.
And everybody, have a good evening. Thank you.
Down into the